Heidi, welcome to Women Investor Wednesdays.
Thanks, Beth. Happy to be here. I wore red for you as well.
I'm so happy. Thank you for the nod to the brand. So we met at the Massimo conference, Massimo Con, a few months ago in Texas.
Right on. Yes, we did. I saw you talk. I was very inspired by you and all the presenters. And you told me to reach out because I told you I invest in real estate, and here we are.
Well, every time I meet a woman who invests, I'm like, you have to be on the podcast. And the reason why we have the podcast is 5 years ago during COVID, I learned that of all of the investors in commercial real estate, only 3% were women. And half of that is inherited or spouses, like women who are signing on the men's guarantees for deals. And I just thought that was terrible. So I started interviewing women saying, do you invest? And they're like, yeah. I go, well, do you invest in real estate? No, but you're an investment sale professional in commercial real estate. I know. Well, where do you invest? The stock market. Well, why don't you invest in what you know? It's like free insider trading, legal insider trading. Well, I don't have $1 million. And I'm like, well, you don't need $1 million. And well, it's scary and risky. So is the stock market. So, but then then the more I dug deeper, they said, I don't know any other women doing it. And I said, that's a problem. The power of one, I'm going to solve that problem. So we did a virtual conference where we had 100 women, sold out. And I interviewed women like you that told their stories of how they invested. And then we've done 3 in-person conferences in 3 weeks. We have our 5th. We just sold out yesterday. So excited. Wow. But then I realized, because I only have about 200 to 250 women at the conference, that's not enough. I'm not getting the message wide enough. So that's when I started the podcast. And I thought, if I can interview 52 women a year, once a week, then, so right now I think we're over 80 interviews on the podcast.
Wow.
Because at the conference, I only do about 8 to 10 women on stage, doing like, I have them tell their story so that the women in the audience can say, if she can do it, so can I.
Yes. Yes.
So that's a long lead up. So Heidi, let's talk about your what do you invest in? Where do you invest? And then I'll like wave and interrupt because I want to ask details.
Okay, perfect. So yes, Heidi Addo. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. We call it the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And I invest in multifamily real estate exclusively. And my husband is a high earner as well. I'm a broker. I sell apartment buildings. And so he has a 401k matching. I'm a broker. We are full commission. So all of the investment for our future, but my income, we utilize for multifamily investments. And I'm invested nationally in deals across the nation, but actually I've really narrowed my focus. I actually only want to invest in Minnesota from now on. And the reason is I know this market. I know it better than anyone else. I'm an expert here. And so when things ebb and flow, I understand them. I realized in my investments in other markets, I don't understand them. And I don't like that. And like you said, it's pretty much insider trading. And Beth, we can get into this a little bit later, but I'm maybe different. I'm a different investor. I only am a limited partner investor. I do not want to have any responsibility for the property myself. And currently I'm investing in chunks, mostly $100,000 chunks. And eventually I'm actually going to utilize some of the sponsors that I like and trust the most. And I'm going to, when I have more substantive investment ability, I'm going to be investing $1 million or multiple millions into a property that's actually under my full equity ownership, but I'm willing to have a sponsor be the person that does all the business for me and give them a cut. So that's my end goal and of my investments.
Oh, so I have so many questions. So first of all, we're, 2 Midwest girls here because I was, born and raised in Wisconsin. So, all right. So let's go back.
Okay.
Can I ask how old you are?
Yep. I am 34, turning 35 shortly.
Such a baby. Well, happy birthday. So
you.
great. Young. Look how much you're doing. So how old were you when you did your first LP and how did it come about?
Yes. So I want to even go back. My top strength is I'm strategic. That is my top number one strength in life and in business.
That's your superpower.
That's my superpower. And so my mind is always thinking of strategy. I'm like a general of an army, as people describe me, and I describe myself. And so in 2020, I had just started in commercial real estate in brokerage. My dad has been a broker, owned our firm for about 40 years. So there's definitely
4 or 40?
40.
Okay.
4 decades.
Yeah.
And so I started in 2019 and I'm really good at it. And I got pretty good at it pretty quick. I had a lot of seats at the table, learned from the best. So I really was able to elevate really quickly. And so I started to first few large paychecks. I paid off all of my husband's law school debt and others. And then we started getting large chunks. And we had, at that time, a really low mortgage. So we just started breaking it off into chunks. So in 2020, I knew the future for me is investing in real estate. I've got a goal of a $50 million net worth by 50. And I'm definitely going to meet it or surpass it. And so in 2020, I was talking to a client of mine who does value add multifamily acquisitions. And I had an extra $50,000 that we wanted to put to work. And so that was my first foray, and it was a twofer. And it was a strategic investment in a client that I know and trust, and also a strategic investment into him as he's a buyer and a seller of real estate in my market. And also I wanted to get my money at work as well.
So did you suggest it to him or did he give you the opportunity?
He was looking for investors and he had, a call of accredited investors at that time. And so then I put in our first chunk was a $50,000 chunk into him. And
was he surprised? Was he much older than you, or was he your age? Like,
he's older than me. Yep, he's older.
Was he like, really, Heidi? Do you want to do this?
No, he wasn't surprised because he knew I've been making money. So it's my market is a mid-sized market, but there's only a few major brokerages that really control the whole multifamily market here. It's similar to other markets as well, and right. So I had people will know me. So,
okay. So how many LPs are you in around the country, more or less?
Outside of Minnesota or just in total?
Total. Like, are you in 10 deals, 20 deals?
10 deals. 10
okay.
Deals.
And are they all with clients? Like, did you say, oh, you're going to buy in Omaha, let me put money in?
Yes, all with clients, part of my strategic, because it's a goodwill investing for me, because I'm investing in my client and I am going to be selling for sure that property. I'm for sure selling that property. And then, but that's a relationship that really gets fostered when you trust your client.
Right. Right. I mean, this is brilliant. So I've had 86 interviews. This is brilliant. So good. And 34 years old. I love all of this. Okay. So I also started as an LP, but I was dragged into it.
Okay.
I didn't want to do it. I was one of those women. I'm like, I'm maxed out on my 401k. I'm good. Like I was not strategic. That was not one of my superpowers. But I did 6 or 7 LPs. And then I said, no, I can go do this on my own and be a GP. And I've done it. But I can tell you now, I'm back to being I love giving a check and getting a check. And yes. I mean, I did put an offer on a deal this week. I don't know if it will be accepted and I'll be the GP, but I really, 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 really like being an LP. So I've come full circle. So you just are taking the middle heartbreak out of it and just you're a very smart young lady.
Well, thank you. And Beth, there's a reason, because I've seen other brokers in my market, when you take your eyes off the ball, your presence diminishes, your execution diminishes, and your deal flow, your pipeline, which a broker lives on their pipeline, your pipeline dries up really quickly. One of my favorite clients was a former broker. And when he started investing, his eye got off the ball. And now his investments are really strong. So like he, turned out great for him.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay for him.
But my personality is very well suited for brokerage. I am not an operational person. In my business, I will spend and I will do things that an operational budgeted kind of person, not for them. I'm someone that needs to be out front with the people, not behind the scenes, trying to make sure budgets and the property's running. So I know my strengths, and property ownership management is not one of them. And also I don't have time for it. I help run this business. It's a family business. And my dad has been able to do less day to day because I've stepped up to that. And our pipeline is really robust. So I just don't have time to do anything else. And I don't want to. It's not my strength.
And you have a young child.
Yes, she's 3.5 and she's the apple of her eye. And you're totally right about this too, because I tell a lot of people like to make their own way and they don't want to pay someone because that's going to be money away from them. And my thought to them is often, what is the cost of time away from your family?
Right. Well, right. What, people, I get hired, as you met me because I spoke at the Massimo Con. So I get hired to do speaking gigs or, workshops, et cetera. And I charge with that in mind. How much do I need to leave my house?
Yeah.
And leave one of my sons is in LA. So the LA people can pay me less because I'm going to go see my son. It used to be more because it's on the other side of the country, but now there's an incentive there. But how much for me to leave my dog, my 21-year-old, my lifestyle, get on a plane these days, right? So that's how I charge.
Yep. Yeah. Completely.
Yeah. So I love the idea where you want to now accumulate. So are you and your husband thinking, we don't want to go do 10 100s. Let's slow down so that we can accumulate 500. So we're the sponsor of the next person who's got the bigger deal. Are you slowing down investing, or are you still like, no, we're going to keep investing, but now you're narrowing in. So let's talk about, before we get to that piece, let's talk about how you narrowed in now. You were client focused and you didn't care where.
Yep.
But if there's a problem, you can't consult with them because you don't know Omaha, Chicago, Fort Lauderdale. But if it's in Minneapolis, will you go outside of Minneapolis, or you're going to stay focused on Minneapolis?
Minnesota. I'll be in Minnesota because I'm an expert here. And it's very strategic. So yeah, you're right. It's evolved. My strategy has evolved. I actually have a 2-part strategy. So I'm really focused on, in my business as a broker of apartment buildings, I sell apartment buildings. In my business, I'm focused on 70 or more units in under one roof. That is my focus. My team has other focuses too. And then I also am focused at this time at new development. So there are a lot of amazing local developers in my market, and I'm really focused on them. And I'm very much investing in their deals because I want to work with them. I trust them. And it's a small town. Like I said, it's a big, small town. Minneapolis is not a small town, but compared to Fort Lauderdale, not Fort Lauderdale, but Miami. Let's say Miami. Yeah. So I'm really focused right there, but that doesn't give me the tax benefits that I get from another LP that does a value add. And I can get a K1 that, because I'm a real estate professional, I can get a large reduction on my income. So in the past few years, and Beth, I don't know how much people talk about figures on your podcast.
They do. Yeah.
In the last few years, I've saved almost $200,000 in taxes because of my K1s. And that's because of the losses that the investment that I put in took, because they're doing full renovations where you really have zero income for about 2 years. And then you have a real substantial chunk of money. I also am really in tune with cost segregation. and I'm hopeful that it comes back because I can, the properties that I buy can do a cost segregation analysis, depreciate all of their assets in year one. And that gives me a really big cut on my income because the taxes are killing me. You know, I'm in that highest bracket.
Yeah.
And then but the developments that's a focus of mine. So I'm not focused on a new syndicators. I'm a high net worth individual. And so my chunks are a minimum of 100,000 now. Yep. And so I'm really focused on the developers, and I'm also focused on that quality build. The build and the location matter to me. And then the relationship is actually the most important. So that's the most important to me. But
so
I play
do your peers and your competitors know that you are an investor?
Or
do you keep it under the radar?
I think people are starting to know because I'm invested in a lot of deals, and developers are reaching out to me about their deals to see if I'll invest. I pretty much always say yes. And and I'm securing, I don't usually, the reason that I secure the business is usually not because I'm invested, but it's really that trust of like, I really trust you, Mr. or Mrs. Developer. You make great products. You know the locations. You know the market. I know the market. I want to show I trust you. Like, it's just true. And so the developers I invest with, I do trust. And it's really an act of goodwill. It really does not have strings attached to it. Like, there's nothing in my contract that says you have to sell with me. But I am an expert in this market, and it's a symbiotic relationship in many cases.
So knock on wood, you haven't had one go bad yet? A client?
Oh, I've had a few. Yeah. I've had a 30% capital call, and I had a smaller capital call, and currently no foreclosures. And, but actually, the capital call, one of them was in I'm invested in the city of St. Paul that has rent control. There was a capital call there because of politics, which changed the pro forma, and it was a midstream deal. And then I'm in another one in a different market outside the Twin Cities. And that was another foray, 30% capital call. And depending on how much money you put in, 30% significant. Mine was pretty significant. And a lot of people probably would not have been able to make that capital call. And it really showed me, you know what? I know my market. There's no reason for me to go outside of it.
Right. Are all of the 10 LPs you're in all multifamily?
All multifamily. And I'm not going to stray from them because I know multifamily. I don't know the others. And once again, it really goes to like the expertise of your field. You're right. It is insider trading.
Right. So my LPs that I'm investing in now are women around the country. So I'm not focused on geography or asset class. So my client or my product is women.
Got it.
So someone could take a snippet of that and that would sound awful. Don't do that. So I invested with Shiloh Bear. She has a flex space, like in weird old industrial turning into cool warehouse in a hip area in California that she'd been after for 5 years, this deal, and she lost it and then she got it. And so I and other women so she was at my conference last year and spoke. So we all heard about this. She couldn't raise the money. And then it turns out a year later, she gets to buy it at a lower price and oversubscribes. Amazing. Wow. And then 2 women who are speaking this year at the conference are buying limited stay hotels. And they called me up and they said, we hear that you invest with women. And anyway, it was a limited stay hotel, one of the Marriott flags, not Marriott, but like, I don't know, one of their independent, like longer stay hotels in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I could not pass that up because, 3 blocks from Lambeau Field. So I put my family, my family and I jumped into that, and they're speaking this year. So I want to, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is.
Yep.
And help, just like what you said, find a sponsor that will run the deal, and then you'll put in more. I'm not going to put in more. I'm going to try to sprinkle a lot of little ones around the country and in markets I know nothing about. But when I GP a deal, they're all 10 minutes from my house.
Sure. Yep. Yeah. Well, you're strategic in your way as well. You said you're not strategic, but you are.
Well, I'm strategic because I want to get to the property in 20 minutes or less.
Yeah.
So I interrupted you though. You were going to say something. Do you remember? No. Okay. So what do you say to women who say, I have a job? So, most of my women that don't invest in commercial real estate are in commercial real estate. This is what boggles my mind. I'm okay if there's a nurse and she's in the stock market. I am not okay when there is someone that is an investment sale broker for multifamily or a retail tenant rep. So she reps Starbucks, finds a site for Starbucks, and hands the package to a guy developer. Oh, this is the question I wanted to ask you. Of all of your 10 deals, all the GPs, all men.
There. Yep.
We're changing that, Heidi.
Yeah. Well, there's a one woman that I can think of that offers on significant properties in my market. And she's a very high net worth family office person. And so she would not need my $100,000. But yeah, you're right. There's not anyone in my market right now. I hope that changes. So
I invest with a woman, Natasha Falcone, and she when she spoke at my conference, she had a 4-unit, an 8-unit, a 4-unit, and an 8-unit. So she had 16 and 8, 23 units, 24 units. And so she's on stage and she's talking and I said, so next year when you come to the conference, how many units are you going to have? And she said, 30. And I said, no. I was like, you're going to have 100 units. So the following year I said, who remembers Natasha? And they're like, yeah, we all remember, I go, how many units? What was my goal that I pushed her to? And they said 100. I said, Natasha, how many units do you have? She goes, 108. And so, and because I said, what are you doing investing in 4 and 8 units? We got to find 30 and 40 and 50, go bigger, think bigger. So I invested with her on her last 4 deals. And a lot of the women in the audience that she met from the conference, one of her investments were all women, an all women investor deal.
Love it. Love that.
And she's investing in 2 submarkets in Miami, Little Havana, and Hialeah, which is highly Hispanic. Yep. She's Hispanic. Perfect. Her parents came here. I mean, it's just a beautiful story.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. So I was going back to, what would you say to women who say to me, I'm busy, I have a full-time job, it's commission only, I've got to work on the deals, and I have a 4-year-old at home. And so I can't.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot. So because it's a lot to do on a woman's plate, there's a lot to do on a woman's plate. And if you're running a business, which if you're a broker, you run your own business, whether it's your own shop or not. Right. And so if you're in commercial real estate, you are busy, and the better you get at your job, you're going to be even busier. So you should not buy an asset by yourself. You should be an LP for sure. And the other thing is, what does it say to you in your market? So commercial real estate professional, I'll just talk about that. What does it say in your market if you're not actually involved? So it's like, are you really the expert? What kind of skin do you have in the game? And when you're competing for a deal, let's just talk about brokerage. If you're competing for a deal and, I have a lot of intimate knowledge on a lot of properties because I get monthly or quarterly emails about the ins and outs of the operations of these properties. And so I know submarket knowledge from a high level, but I know a lot of nuanced submarket knowledge because I'm getting that from my quarterly reports. So all of that to say, there is so much benefit, not just financial, it's mostly financial. And I do want to say one other thing. I've got an amazing friend who went all in with investing, and I love her for that. And she's doing well with one of her deals. But I do want to say real estate investing is risky.
For sure.
Risky. And I told her, because she's just a full go for it kind of woman, and I am too. And all of that about, if you're a real estate professional, you're a high earner, and you do have an extra large chunk of change to get your money working for you, go for it. There's no reason to not go for it. You could be a resource. There's so many great GPs out there. Truly, there's a lot of good ones. There's probably only a few bad ones. If you're raising money at scale, there's something that you have done or doing that is working. And
I've had brokers say to me, "Oh no, I don't invest because that would be a conflict of interest." And I'm like, "Since when?"
Yeah.
I mean, unless I could see it's a conflict of interest if you're an investment sale broker only working with buyers.
Yeah.
And you want to, like, for decades, I have taught REITs. I have coached REITs leasing agents retail. So, and they buy supermarket anchored centers. So I would never go buy supermarket anchored centers because I would for sure be competing with my clients who hire me to train their leasing agents. Yeah. I have always bought unanchored strip centers, which they used to laugh at me and say, "Why are you buying that crap that has no credit?" And oh, by the way, now those REITs are now trying to compete with me. So it's very funny. Now they realize that this has been the gem all along. But so I understand, but that doesn't mean you can't invest in other asset classes and have, you're a commercial real estate professional. So you don't have to invest in the asset class that you work in or that you feel like you're competing against.
Yeah. And for me, I'm never the buyer of a deal. So right. I'm never the actual buyer. At our firm, we only work with sellers. So we always represent our seller, and our seller's interests are always our number one interest. And so, for example, I'm selling a property right now and I'm investing in it as well. And the seller knows it. And the seller in this situation thinks it's a positive because I believe in the product as well. Now, another one, my brother, for example, my brother has an investment firm where he is a GP and he buys properties. I'm invested in all of his deals. There's one I'm not, but that was before I had money. And so him, for example, when he's won 3 of our deals because he's a high bidder, but he doesn't have any insider knowledge. He's not a part of it at all. He's a buyer. He's just a buyer. And when we go to the table, his name, we have a full understanding with our seller of all the buyers and everyone's background and everything. And it says, this person is related to whoever it is on our team. For example, my brother is my dad owns this firm. So Steve Michael's son. And Steve Michael's son won that deal. And then we told the attorney, if Steve Michael wins this deal, Heidi and Steve are going to be investing in that deal. And they were like, great. It's been a great property for us. We hope it's going to be a great property for them. And, so it's not a conflict of interest.
And it's transparency, right? I remember we were getting hired in my former firm that I was at for 18 years. I grew from the training department to the president. We got 2 shopping centers they walked in the door and we were going to list them to sell them as the broker. And we had investment sale brokers on our team. And they came to my partner and I, and they said, we think we really should buy these. And the guy and my partner is like, they're hiring us to sell it. This is a conflict, but maybe it's not if we give them the price he wants. So we called up the client and we said, look, you want $9 million for these 2 shopping centers. We're prepared to pay you $9 million. Now, if you feel that it's a conflict, no problem. We will excuse ourselves. We won't be in consideration. We'll just take it to the market and we'll, go to market and we'll see what we get for the 2 properties. And the guy's like, you'll pay me what I want, $9 million. That's what I think they're worth. And we're like, yeah, well, and we made the deal.
Yep.
Yeah. But if he would have said, no, that makes me uncomfortable. I want to take it out to market. I want to see if maybe I could get 10. But he said, if you pay me what I want, I'm good.
Right. And for our firm, our goal, we really work with on-market deals. We do off-market deals too, but we're really like an on-market firm. We like to market everything, bring in the competition, and it comes out in the wash about who's going to pay the best price. That's usually what the seller wants: best price, best terms, closing as soon as possible, who can actually close. And
a certain close.
Yeah. And I only invest in deals on the back end. So if one of the people that I know everyone in our market, someone I know and trust, and I like that property, I want to trust, they win it, that's the only time I get involved. I never get involved before. Right. So it's totally not a conflict at all.
Right. Okay. So one last piece of advice for someone that is watching this has some money to invest, let's say they have 50, 100 grand.
Yeah.
You already said start as an LP. What's their best way? Let's say they're in the business. Let's say they're 35 years old and they are in commercial real estate, whatever asset class, industrial, office, retail. What's their best way to, if they aren't in investment sales? Let's say they're just a leasing person. How can they find out about deals to become an LP?
Great question. Reach out to a broker who is in investment sales about GPs that the broker trusts that are in the market. And what I do, because people always are asking me about how I invest, I will disseminate the emails of a few GPs that I trust in the market. And then I will have those people that want to reach out to them, like that leasing agent you're talking about, reach out to that person, or I'll do an introduction email, add them to that person's email distribution list. So they start to get quarterly reports so they can start to see the ins and outs of how this GP functions. And then, the GP probably every other quarter, if not every quarter, may have a deal available.
Right.
Watch those videos. It doesn't cost anything to join the live video or to get the information. And I think I heard a stat. I know it's a stat in sales that you need at least 7 touch points before someone actually invests. I'm sure it's the same in investments. And so start to look at everyone's materials, but call a broker first to figure out who the GPs they trust are, and then start to get on their calls, see their materials, look through their information and their track record, and then dive in.
Love it. Heidi, it's been such a pleasure having you. I'm so glad we got to meet at MassimoCon.
Yes, likewise. Thanks, Beth. You're an inspiration.
Well, thanks for being here, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
If anyone needs to sell will you sell shopping centers anywhere or just Minnesota?
I sell apartment buildings only.
That's what I meant. Apartment buildings. I meant that. My brain is shopping centers.
Yep. And I'm an expert in Minnesota, licensed in other states, but expert in Minnesota. So if you need to sell an apartment building in Minnesota, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Heidi Addo. You can find me.
There you go. Maybe you'll get a listing from this platform.
There you go. That'd be great.
Have a good night.
Thanks.